year after the first meeting held in Lima, Peru, the Multilateral Investment Fund's Territorial Competitiveness Project Cluster organized their second meeting, Local Economic Development, a strategic focus for small business competitiveness, on June the 6th to 9 in Belo Horizonte, Brazil. In 2007, at Inter-American Development Bank headquarters in Washington, D.C., the MIF conference Small Business Competitiveness, Clusters and Local Development proposed supporting a new generation of projects aiming to develop the competitive advantages of territories. The shared characteristics of these types of projects are: 1. Governance structure based on public-private collaboration. 2. Focus on developing a territory's competitive advantages. 3. Potential to disseminate and apply the innovations developed. And 4. Economic inclusion. Over the last 2 years, 22 projects have been identified, extending the family of territorial competitiveness projects to 14 countries in Latin America. This meeting in Belo Horizonte provided a space for both conceptual and practical reflection, bringing project implementation experiences and executing agencies' perspectives into discussion of new topics. The meeting's agenda focused on the following strategic areas: A. The relationship between developing the potential of a territory, businesses and the environment. B. The importance of incorporating territorial information systems to enhance development projects. C. The formation and strengthening of territorial governance structures, including systems for enhancing public-private collaborations. D. The analysis of the study trip to Japan and Thailand with the support of the Japanese Agency for International Cooperation, JICA. E. And finally, the monitoring and impact evaluation system for CLIP Cluster project. The different topics were presented in roundtable format, and international experts presented the lessons learned from different countries. In addition to roundtable discussions, participants also analyzed the topics in working groups, presenting their conclusions in plenary sessions. Keisuke Nakamura, the MIF Deputy Manager of Operations, inaugurated the workshop, and on behalf of the State of Minas Gerais, the Secretary of Tourism, Campos Drumond, and Olavo Machado, President of the State Federation of Industries, gave the opening remark. Next, Claudio Cortelesi, Coordinator of the MIF Local Competitiveness Project Cluster, gave an overview of the meeting, highlighting the objectives and methodology of the sessions. The first session focused on two main aspects of small and medium business development and environmental sustainability: waste management and reduction, an opportunity for investment and income generation, especially in protected areas or highly vulnerable environments where innovation can play a key role. A roundtable discussion led by Renato Caporali shed new light upon environmental sustainability as a competitiveness factor by Claudio Maggi, reducing industrial waste and improving business competitiveness by Kaz Kuroda of the Japanese Center of Productivity, and opportunities for taking advantage of environmental assets presented by Francisco Albuquerque. Afterwards, different experiences from MIF projects in Latin America were shared, such as the Inter-Ocean Highway project in Peru and the Cleaner Production Center project in Ometepe, Nicaragua. These examples set the stage for a dynamic working group session, the summary of which was coordinated by Daniele Massonis and Marco Dini. The second session focused on geographic information systems as a tool for information and decision-making, analyzing how they can be applied to local development strategies. Specifically, the relationship between geographical maps, satellite photos, and different types of economic information was discussed. The international experiences presented were the Geographic Information System of the University of Sevilla Institute of Regional Development, the application of GIS in Rafaela, Argentina, and GIS for the sustainable development of the Tolten Basin in Chile. On Tuesday, June the 8th, we continued with the third session entitled Starting New Projects and Experiences in Strengthening Territorial Governance through Public-Private Collaboration for Small Business Development. At the roundtable discussion led by Gonzalo Rivas, a series of interesting presentations were given by Gabriel Casaburi on the relevance of regional development agencies for Latin America, Francisco Albuquerque, who talked about lessons from international experience with regional development agencies, and finally a number of Italian experiences related to the construction of objective-based collaboration mechanisms were presented, including the case of Cinque Terre and Ferrara. The university is a resource for territorial development presented by Daniele Massonis, Marco Dini and Gianfranco Franz. Next, the two parallel sessions were held aiming to generate knowledge by analyzing similar projects, taking into account two common approaches: ad hoc agencies and new institutional mechanisms. In Room 1, presentations included the agency from Rafaela, Argentina, the agency from Alagoas, Brazil, the regional agencies in Chile. Simultaneously, in Room 2, presentations presentations were given on new institutional mechanisms, including the Western Basin of the Lerma River, a territory in 3 Mexican states, and the National Network of Management Groups of Guatemala. These simultaneous sessions ended with conclusions by the experts. Session 4 focused on the study trip taken in February 2010 to explore the local development systems in Japan and Thailand, financed and organized by JICA. A similar study trip may be planned to Latin America. Mr. Nakamura led this session and coordinated the different presentations, including Mr. Maruoka, General Director of JICA's Latin America and Caribbean Department, who shared its Japanese agency experience with local economic development and small and medium enterprises. Monica Ramos and Jaime Keisuke from Peru, who discussed their perspectives on the study trip to Japan and Thailand. The application of the MFCA's savings methodology into production and distribution chain in Mato Grosso do Sul, Brazil. The University Business Connection for Technology Creation in the National Network of Management Groups of Guatemala. Policies that support business innovation in Chile and their application in the Focus in Bio project. And lastly, a model town presented by ONUDI. During the 5th session, Felix Mitnick briefly reflected on some project experiences after the first year of applying the monitoring system for the local competitiveness project cluster called SIMPLED, including the development of local capacity project in Easter Island and the Rafaela Argentina development project. Wednesday, June the 9th, began with a bilateral meeting between JICA representatives and MIF executing agencies to establish mechanisms to formalize the cooperation with JICA in each country. Finally, the 6th session discussed project impact evaluations and monitoring of results, and the IDB's Alessandro Maffoli presented various impact evaluation methodologies. James Wilson from the Vasco Institute for Competitiveness spoke about the Institute's evaluation of the cluster policy, and Felix Mitnick presented on impact evaluations and replicating experiences. Giancarlo Franz shared the experience of the International Masters of Ferrara, Italy, and Carlo Pietrobelli spoke about collaboration between the IDB and the OECD, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. Towards the end of the meeting, Lila Cho showed us the advances of our online learning community, collaboration experiences, and the future work plan. Viviana Vasquez presented the regional training program for local economic development, and on behalf of Claudio Cortelesi, coordinator of the MIF Local Competitiveness Project Cluster, formally closed the meeting. On Thursday and Friday, June the 10th and 11th, we attended the SIMPLED workshop along with the MIF executing agency of projects in Argentina, Bolivia, Brazil, Colombia, Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, Nicaragua, Mexico, Peru. And this is how the second meeting of the MIF Territorial Competitiveness Project Cluster played out. With the active participation of 44 presenters and facilitators, over 100 registered participants, and more than 40 virtual connections throughout Latin America, thanks to the University of Valle de Tamajac, La Piedad Campos, which provided live web streaming on the meeting. Through meetings like this, the MIF offers an array of practical knowledge, sharing lessons learned from its work with a growing network of private sector organizations, NGOs, and public sector partners, furthering its commitment to micro and small business development and using experience to drive innovative private sector development in Latin America and the Caribbean.